Hi guys, welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. I'm Barnaby Slate. I'm here with Amir, and it's just finished. West Ham United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 1 at the West Ham United London Stadium Super Bowl, or whatever they call it these days. The Westfield Stadium, the Stratford Stadium, whatever you like. I don't like that stadium. They don't like that stadium. Nobody likes the stadium. But in the end, I guess I'm coming here with a sense of frustration because Tottenham were by far the better side today. They were on the front foot. They tried to make things happen, and West Ham played full defensive mode and then just tried to play and get set piece after set piece, corner after corner. And to be fair to them, stuck it right on our weakness, which is, for some reason, Vicario being stuck under the ball. And we conceded one from that. And as a result, that was it. 1-1. Amir, before we get any people on to talk to, I should say before I speak to Amir, it's going to be a bit of a shorter fan show today. So if you're going to call in, we want you to call in. Please do now. All the details are in the chat as to how you can do that. We want to talk to you. Amir, yeah. Obviously, we've already done our reaction show. Any kind of changes in your feelings after that? We should have won the game.
We should have won the game, and I think that's where a lot of Spurs fans' frustrations will lie this evening. You know, it's not a terrible result coming back from the London Stadium with a point, but going about the way the way we did, playing the football the way we did, on the front foot, attacking, going at them, that's the way I want to go down, right? If we're going to drop 2 points, I'd rather, you know, drop 2 points going down fighting like that than doing a West Ham and just, you know, sitting behind the ball, 11 men behind the ball type thing. So yeah. I'm a little discombobulated a little bit, but overall I'm okay. I'm okay with the point.
Yeah, I said it to you before. It's like when I get really frustrated and angry at watching Spurs is when we lose games that we should win. Today we drew a game that I felt like we should have won, but let's face it, we played a lot better tonight than we did against Fulham, and West Ham had to do a number on us in the same way that Brentford have tried to do a number on us, Crystal Palace have tried to do a number on us. They've realised that there is no point in trying to go toe-to-toe with Tottenham Hotspur. No. And actually, I think the games where Spurs really do best is when we play teams who do try and go toe-to-toe against us.
Yeah, your Villas of the world. And then, you know, floodgates open and, you know, we really can then put our foot on their neck, as you said. But it's this kind of game where, you know, we got our noses ahead. I'm looking for us to really go after that second. I felt like we kind of let them back into the game. And as soon as they got that set piece, got back to 1-1, they were in their comfort zone again, and we couldn't quite break them down. Yeah. So I'll definitely be looking for improvements in our next games, but overall, decent night for Spurs.
I said it before the game. I said if we could get an early goal, get their fans against them, and then get that second goal, you just alluded to it there, then I think we might have ended up winning that 4 or 5. Because after that first goal, you could see that they dropped off 5 or 10% even. They totally stopped their first kind of initial half press that they'd started with. They dropped off us. We were really in charge, and it was just the set piece that ruined us. But we talked a little bit earlier about some of the performances. Let's mention a few more we haven't mentioned so much. I thought Bissouma did all right tonight. He was very brave on the ball and was key to getting it through the lines.
Yeah, I think Bissouma, this was one of his better performances since he's come back from his stint out in Africa. He was good at breaking up the play. The one thing, just as a constructive criticism for Biss, is sometimes I feel like once he's won the ball, play the right ball. After you've done everything right, you've won the ball back, you've taken a couple of touches to steady yourself, don't play the Hollywood pass and then for it to go out. Just knock it 5, 6 yards, 7-yard ball to the next player. Keep the ball moving. That can be a little thing that he can work on. But overall, I think Eves had a decent game.
So a good comment here from Tabloid says, why do every team roll over for Arsenal and show up like prime Brazil against us? So Arsenal obviously won 6-0 at the London Stadium. I mean, I would personally say, firstly, Arsenal, you know, are a bit further ahead than us in that their young team has grown together in the last few years. But also, good example of what I just said, which is they scored a second goal after getting an early goal, and West Ham just like collapsed like a deck of cards.
Yeah, they absolutely collapsed in that game. And I think Arsenal are just a little bit ahead of us in terms of the team cohesiveness, if that makes sense. They all know where they should be. They all know Arteta's system a little bit better. And they did go out and spend 100 million on Declan Rice, which was a position that they really needed to improve.
They've spent they've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions over the last 4 or 5 years as well. So, you know, there's a bit more work to be done before we can probably, you know, realistically hope to go to the London Stadium like they did and win 6-0. But let's see what happens. You know, let's face it, when Spurs played Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium just 2 seasons ago, and it was seen as like this huge kind of pivotal game for whether whoever wins would go forward and the other, it doesn't work like that. You can very quickly go from one bit of good form to bad form. And I think I personally love that. I feel like Spurs are on an upward journey at the moment. I will, of course, by some people be accused of being a happy clapper. But I think compared to the stuff that I had to watch under Conte and under Jose, it's just a joy to see some good football.
And I don't know if I agree with all these terms, happy clapper or this and that, because I think at the end of the day, you're a supporter of your team, right? And you call it how you see it.
Yeah.
If you've seen improvement from the Conte and Jose and Nuno and Stellini era and Mason to where we are now, I think that's a fairly reasonable observation that most Spurs fans, you know, would say, we have improved, and Ange has reinvigorated the whole club and the way we're playing and the way we're going about our football. So for those reasons, I'll be deemed a happy clapper as well, because I am seeing the progress that we've made under Ange. For me, to see us go to that next level, it's going to take a little bit more. It's going to take me seeing a summer window where Ange gets the players, but that's a story.
We definitely need a player who can do something a bit different. Yeah. We need someone who can against those deep blocks do something a little bit different. Yeah. Good comment here, I think, from Benny. Thanks for writing, mate. Says, I think the West Ham coach, by which he means David Moyes, got scared after the comeback against Newcastle and made the team park the bus at the back. I mean, they certainly didn't want to concede 4 goals again for the second time in a week.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got a super chat in from Da Vinci's Bricks. Thank you very much, mate. He says, with no informed 10, our attack is too predictable. I mean, look, I'm not saying that Madders is playing the best football he's ever played. But what I'd say is in games like that, I mentioned it during the watch along, I personally think that in games like that, when you've got 11 behind the ball, you know, a block of 5 and then a block of 4, a block of 4, a block of 5, he has got almost the hardest job out of everyone because there's no room in behind for him to play the through ball to, for Sonny. And really, either he's got to take shots from 30 yards, which he's not doing at the moment, or all he can do is try and get it out wide and hope that runners get in behind that way. So I feel for Maddison, but I personally think he was taken off because Ange will want to start him again against Forest.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And the only thing that I would say for Madders is, for his own sake and, you know, his own numbers, I want to see him take that responsibility of saying, you know what, I'm taking this game by the scruff of the neck. I will have that shot from 25 yards, from 20 yards, try and bend it in the corner. Yeah. And I just want to see that a little bit more from James, because I know he's got it in his locker. We've seen it throughout the season. The guy can get on the end of things. He can create things and he can do the magnificent. I'm just wanting to see that a little bit more from him in game by game period, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's have a look at some more comments. Yeah. Jacob Bannister, we need an effing set piece coach.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think going both ways, right? I think defending them, we need a plan. The whole Vic situation with the 6-yard box, it can't continue because every time, you know, we can see the corner, your heart's in your mouth.
Yeah.
And going forward as well, I do think we don't look, you know, we had 6 or 7 corners in that first half.
Oh yeah.
We don't look a threat.
We never win the first header.
No,
we never win the first header.
We don't look like we're going to score. So
and last season we continually, what we did really brilliantly last season with Vio as our set piece coach was flick it on at the near post.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't they get men running across the near post, flick it on?
I don't know.
It works.
Some great short corners work as well. The near post corners work sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of ways to go about it.
Should say, guys, so this is a fan phone-in show, and the details are in the chat. You just have to go onto that link that's pinned there in the chat, and then you can talk to us. We want to talk to you. And, straight away, looks like we're going to have someone soon. I'll go through another couple of comments first. There is a lot of criticism from Timo Werner for today's performance. What did you think overall?
A bit harsh. I thought first half he was good. He was taking his man on. He obviously put the ball in there for Johnson's first goal. It was fantastic play. I think he did just kind of work his way out of the game in that second half, and I thought he could have been subbed a little earlier. But that's not to say that he didn't have a good game in that first half. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, they're just showing the replay of the goal on the TV. Then I've seen it. It's not only just as disappointing as it was dropped on Vicario's head. Zuma, who all game, his tactic was to stand behind Vicario and then just make a little 3-yard run, and nobody was anywhere near him. It's so bizarre for it to be that simple. Anyway.
Sometimes it is though, Barnaby, you know? We've complicated these games with tactics and positions, but sometimes football can be a very, very simple game.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I mean, look at that first goal, right? Winger to winger. Tap in, easy goal.
Very simple, but also very hard to defend against. Anyway, our first caller tonight, Royce, my man from Tip Top Tottenham, my favourite microphone of all. How are you feeling after that, mate? And did you get out of work able to watch it?
Yes, I was able to watch the whole game. To be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. I feel like those are the type of games where you would really want to have 3 points.
Sure.
I wanted, one of the things that I wanted to mention was that I know it started at 8:15 p.m. you guys' time, and I feel like a lot of the later games, I don't know what it is, we just don't play as well for whatever reason. Maybe because we've had to sit and think about the game the whole day. But personally, I'm just a little bit frustrated with how it went. I wanted to also mention that I feel like in the first halves of games, in every football match that I watch, essentially, fouls and yellow cards aren't given as much.
No, that's true.
Yep.
And you know, even it could be an identical foul, you know, in minute 33 and versus minute 83. Like, it's probably going to be a yellow card on the 83rd minute much more of the time. And I thought Lucas Paqueta in general, the Brazilian midfielder for West Ham, had maybe four fouls total.
Yep.
And at least 1 or 2 of them, in my opinion, was a yellow card offense in the first half. And I was just really annoyed that, you know, I felt like there's some fouls sometimes that are given in the first half that aren't given in the second half. Or I'm sorry, vice versa of what I just said.
Yeah.
But,
look, I completely agree. And I personally think the reason for that usually is that, especially in these kind of big London derbies where there's a big kind of crowd, a baying crowd sometimes, referees go into it by talking with each other and their colleagues and being like, okay, we're not going to give a yellow card early because it will incite the players and incite the crowd, and it could become something that we can't keep control of. That's something, I don't know if you remember the Battle of the Bridge in 15-16 at Chelsea, and basically Spurs should have had about 6 men sent off that night, but Mark Clattenburg had made a decision. He's talked about in his book. He made a decision that he wasn't going to book anyone, and as a result, like
warfare,
it was warfare. It was like Lamella was standing on Hazard's hand, Moussa Dembele gouged Costa's eye.
I loved it.
It was honestly, it was such a disappointing night in the end, but also it was the least Spurs performance in my whole lifetime, where actually we showed some real grit. But yeah, that's the reason I think that happens. What about in terms of our play, Royce? Like, obviously West Ham really kind of parked the bus, but who impressed you for Spurs tonight?
So it was so unusual watching the game today, seeing us score so early and take the lead, to be honest, because I felt like in the past few games it hasn't really been like that. But I was a person who had thought that Brennan, you know, was best off the bench, and maybe he still is with the options that we have on the squad right now. But when he scored, basically immediately as he came on, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so maybe that can, make me believe that he could be a good option as a starter just as he continues to progress. And it's important to realize, I think, that he's so young. And a lot of people who I've talked with in the Spurs community weren't necessarily happy with the signing, especially when you consider what the price tag was at the time.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of been in the camp where I've thought that if we give him time, he really could be a special player, because there's certain things that you can't teach, and pace is one of them. And he's also proven to be really, really good on first time finishes and first time crosses as well.
Yeah.
I had mentioned today when he had scored, I was like, how many goals? I feel like there's probably been way, way more, if not all of his goals that he scored this season have been first time on his first touch. So I really am happy to see that he scored today. Obviously, I wanted my guy Saad to score really bad. that didn't happen for me. But
He didn't really get chances today, Sonny, did he?
He didn't.
Played out the
I
game
think
a bit.
he knew, and I think he had that one chance. It was like maybe midway through the first half, where he had a really good, a little bit of space anyway, and he knew once that the goalkeeper caught it that he really that was a big opening for him, and he's such a threat. Opposing sides, I'm sure as they're watching tape throughout the week, video, they're like, this guy is on such good form right now. We have to stick to him as close as we can whenever he's on the ball. We can't give him any space. So I agree completely with what you said.
Yeah, and Amir, you were saying that you thought Brennan Johnson played well today. And I just wanted to add one more thing about Brennan Johnson. Getting a lot of stick from the Spurs, kind of what I call the negative Spurs corner of the fan base, saying that he hadn't scored against any kind of top 7 teams and hadn't made an assist against any blah, blah. And it's like, if you look at Man City's stats against the top 5 teams over the last 2 seasons, they've hardly won any games. Like, the games against the big teams are difficult. And Brennan Johnson, I think, has done really, really impressively. And what I loved today, and I mean, maybe you talk a bit more about this as well, I felt like for the first time today, we saw him confident enough to actually drive through the middle of the pitch as well, really run at defenders, and that gave space elsewhere. And if he continues with that confidence, he will become a mega, mega threat for Spurs in terms of not only on his own, but opening up space for other players as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's more than just the way he's driving at players. It's the effectiveness he has in terms of goals and assists. If you're looking at his minutes per goal and his assists per minutes and all those kind of stats, I'm sure he's doing fantastically well. Because since he's come in and since he gets the minutes off the bench, he's come in and he's affected games. So for me, Johnson was, well worthy of a special mention. I'd just like to know there from Royce, who else in that team today deserves a special mention apart from Johnson?
Yes, and I just want to add, I have somebody in mind to the answer to your question, Amir, but I do want to just mention one last thing with Johnson that,
of course,
I think one thing, I had mentioned how everything is first time with him, and it kind of came to me just now that is a really, really, honestly, incredible combination when you consider his pace. He's very decisive, I feel. When the ball is coming to him, I feel like, the reason that he's been able to get so many goals and assists is because he has the pace to be able to get the separation to, make the decision.
Definitely.
And then when he's in the moment, he's like, okay, I know exactly, it's obviously right in front of me. I've made a great run, and now, it's my turn to take the shot, or I know exactly where I'm going to cross it to, or where either the opposite winger is making the run to the back post, or where the striker is, and if he has a little bit of space. So I think that yes, I think that's really a good attribute set, sort of the decisiveness and pace of Brennan Johnson. But I had thought, Barnaby, when I was listening to you guys on the reaction, I completely agree with what you said about Udogie. Or Udogie, apologies. I have mispronounced his name often.
Oh, we all do that.
Apologies. But yes, I mean, he's such a joy to watch at left back.
Jeez.
Porro, I thought, played really, really well.
Agreed.
Also, I just think it's such a treat that we now have, because they're different players, obviously, but playing mirrored positions, and they both have different attributes that really complement each other in ways. Especially, it was. I want to be the biggest Dragusin supporter just because he was an Ange signing, and he has the physical attributes, it seems, to make a real impact on our team. But to see Van de Ven out there today, he is quality. He is quality.
Different levels.
It's bizarre almost how quickly, it was just like immediate, straight away. Van de Ven, it was obvious to everyone that he's going to be that guy for a long time. So I feel like Van de Ven, but to say he deserves a shout is evident, but that's just him. That's just him. He was incredible to watch today.
Oh, he was. I think there was times where I was saying he's Maldini-esque. The kind of, when he's running in behind, you don't even get worried. You're like, okay, he's going to nick it off Antonio, So yeah, I'd agree with you when it comes to Mickey. How do you feel about Turbo Timo and his performance? How do you think he got on today?
I thought he played well in the first half, more than the second half. I feel like, and obviously you could see that by Ange's sub. I think that kind of speaks to maybe that point. But he was the person obviously to create the move of Brennan's goal. And how many times have we seen him, cross it in, get a little bit of separation from the right back, and where he can cross in on his left foot and it bends. He's really, really close to the touchline sometimes, but he gets really, really close and it comes back and finds either Son or Brennan or whoever the other winger is. So I definitely can't say that he played bad by any means. I don't think he played bad, but I just don't think he was spectacular. I don't think, unfortunately, anybody in our front line was really spectacular today, but that's mostly due to West Ham.
Agreed.
I feel like once they got that once they got the equalizer, they were really, really happy to settle for a point.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess maybe you could expect them to do, but I wouldn't be happy if I was them, considering that it was at home. But anyway, I guess that's a different conversation.
But Royce, you must remember what that was like, because that's what we were playing for the last 18 months before Conte had his big outburst.
No, man, we don't want to remember that outburst.
Royce, let's move on then to Nottingham Forest Sunday evening game. How do you feel about that one? Obviously, Aston Villa. So we're 2 points behind Villa now, still with same amount of games, but they play tomorrow night away at the Etihad. Right. You'd think that Man City will find a way. It wouldn't surprise me at all tomorrow night if Villa went ahead in that game. But I think City will find a way to win that. And then, so that would be 2 points with us with a game in hand. Forest. You think Forest will come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and basically try and play the same way West Ham did, and it'll be another tough one for us?
I would essentially guess that would be the case. Yes, I think maybe because, Nuno obviously was our manager for a little bit, that he may, try and come after us and really spend as much time watching, video on us to come up with the best tactics.
Yeah, he'll want it, won't he? That's a good point. He'll really want it. And also, actually, just as a bit of a throwback, he came to Wembley when Spurs were playing at Wembley with Wolves and turned us over then. So he's got a bit of previous against us.
And he'll know how to play.
I would say, mostly he's considered as a really defensive manager. So you would assume, like you had said, that he's probably going to park the bus similar to the majority of the game that West Ham did today. But, obviously at home, I'm always backing the lads. I'm always backing the Lily Whites. I feel like we always kind of show up for home games. And I think that's a really, really good – that's one of my favorite traits, I think, about Tottenham is that we really, tend to try and protect our home ground as much as we can. And I think Ange, he may be thinking about it a little bit as well, that he really wants to beat Nuno, knowing that he was the previous manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Maybe Ange didn't think about that at all. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe. But I know he's an incredibly competitive person, and I am in some ways, and so that thought may have crossed my mind if I was in his position.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Royce, thank you so much for calling in. But just before you go, prediction for scoreline against Forest on Sunday night.
I want to say 3-0 because Vicario so desperately deserves his clean sheet. But I'll say 3-1.
3-1. He knows we're going to concede from a corner.
Well, actually, yeah, so Amir rightly said, just because we know we're going to concede from a corner. Well, what I was actually going to say just to end this was, you can bet your bottom dollar that Chris Wood will be standing on Vicario at every corner on Sunday night, and it'll be absolutely kittens in this studio as we're watching it happen, with Hudson-Odoi whipping them in, I would have thought.
Just don't give us anything that we can throw at any screens here in the studio.
It's probably the most irritating thing in the world to watch as a Tottenham fan this season, seeing Vicario get basically shoved into his own goal.
It's ridiculous, isn't it, Royce? It's ridiculous. And I was saying to Barnaby, why is he not just shoving them out the way and just get out of my way? Move.
Yeah, he's a bit meek when it comes to that. You need to be a bit more aggressive in the Premier League.
Aggressive. Can't let that ball come into the 6-yard box.
Yeah. But anyway,
it's so competitive. If they can take advantage of, they will. That's all I was just going to say. Yeah. God bless you, Yunmin San. I hope you guys have a great day.
And thank you, Royce. Thanks so much. We'll speak to you hopefully after Forest. Guys, make sure you go and give Tip Top Tottenham a subscribe as well. Top man and
thank you guys
nice
so
and positive. No problem.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
A few more comments coming in. Starcrow says, I genuinely let out a big sigh whenever we get a corner. So agreeing with us. But anyway, we've got a bit of a shorter episode today, so let's get straight back on. Yori, how are you doing, mate?
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Yori.
Give us some of your sharp tactical insights.
Well, I'm quite happy, to be honest, but I'm not particularly happy with the result. But
Yeah.
I mean, with the points, we needed the three for sure. But I was super happy, exactly, Barnaby, with the tactics tonight. I saw more stuff tonight than I've seen basically, probably since the first part of the season. So I felt like it was a completely different team. I felt like a lot of things clicked tonight. I felt like Ants. I don't know, what he actually did, or if it's just down to the players kind of getting it now again. But I felt like we haven't played this fluid. I wouldn't even say in in terms of the Aston Villa game. You can't really compare that because that wasn't the same type of low block situation that we dealt with. Even though it wasn't like the most extreme low block tonight, it's still that kind of typical defense that we struggle with. And I felt like there was there were many things, but there were two things that really quickly became obvious for me. Was like our transition out of defense into offense was either like he he probably told them just to do it wherever the space is. Do it on the wings, hug the lines, or do it in the middle. We didn't run into the same congestion as we usually do in the middle, and West Ham had prepared for that. They had quite a lot of players kind of covering that space. So I felt our transition worked a lot better than it's been doing. And then, some people are giving Timo a stick. I thought Timo was absolutely instrumental in creating the chances. We still have the problem of not being clinical with ending the chances, but that's more down to the players. I felt tonight, at least, we had fluidity, we had real dynamic positioning, and we surprised them. They weren't able to block us out like many other teams were. We created a lot of chances, and of course we would have wanted to see more joy from that, but that was more down to the players. I feel like, it was definitely, there was at least two chances more that we should have gotten goals out of.
Yori, can I just ask a question? I agree with everything you're saying. Do you think, because I was absolutely amazed, and I was saying it to Amir during the game, I was amazed at how much space we had in the midfield. It felt like we hadn't had that much space for so long, and like you say, probably since the first 10 games of the season. Do you think that is about a tweak potentially that Ange has made, or maybe because Bentancur came into the midfield, or is it because, or is that just as much because West Ham didn't do what a lot of these teams have done and really kind of made a pressing kind of four in front of their back five? They just didn't really seem to press us, and so like you said, it felt so comfortable.
Yeah, they weren't as compact as many teams are between the two lines, but one thing I think Ange probably kind of barked at them all week was Bentancur, Basuma, and even maybe Madison. But basically, the guys that are responsible for doing the pivot, they all turned on the player tonight, and they got away from the player. And
they did every time,
yeah. And that's something we've seen them stop doing, So, and Bentancur looked really good. Basuma looked really good, I thought, and just it seemed like, I don't know, and I'm kind of leaning towards Ange doesn't want to micromanage too much, and he's kind of left them to figure it out themselves. And now this week he kind of reminded them, listen, guys, this is like he went through all the steps once again, and now they're fresh on it. Now they understand it a little bit better. For me also, I felt like the fact that we didn't insist on pivoting through the inverts and going really narrow meant that Moyes didn't really know what to do in terms of of that pivot. So like this was what I was asking for when I complained the last time. It's like,
Yeah. You did.
like, let's just have a little tweak so we give them a little surprise. Let's not just be, like a completely, sealed and finished book in terms of tactics. Let's have a little bit of a surprise for them. So
Yeah,
I was
you don't
very
want to
happy.
be too predictable, right, Jory? And
No.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I think some teams have kind of sussed us out a little bit. And I do think that making those little changes in the midfield, having Bentancur in there, really helped us today. Get on the ball more in the middle, spread the ball around. My issue today wasn't with the fluidity, because I thought, like you were saying, the front three were very fluid. They were making the right runs. We saw in that first ball the Timo to Johnson combination. My main issue is around that final third and to do with our final ball. If you see in a lot of situations, we're building up an attack and a player will just misplace a 5-yard pass, And for me, that's where I think we were lacking a little bit. I think if Madders has a little bit of a better game, he might be able to get that, sneaky assist for us. And one other thing that I've noticed is the lack of taking shots from around the box. There was quite a few times where I can remember players taking them on. I wanted to know from your perspective, Jory, where do you think we kind of are lacking in that final third? What are the solutions to that?
I mean, tonight we were doing a little bit too much of trying to walk it in. I was happy to see, though, that the Porro consistently tried to get into positions to shoot from, and did shoot a couple of times.
He did shoot a couple of times.
Agreed.
Yeah. And also Bissouma took a rebound and shot, which I was happy about to see as well. And it wasn't I do think in terms of the just the front three being more clinical. For me, I don't want to blame anybody particularly or whatever, but of course Son needs to lead that. And for me, as brilliant as Son is, when we're playing these low block teams, Son does struggle with his positioning a lot of the time, I feel. So I don't know if it's just a question of a little bit of time, and they'll gel better. In terms of Timo also, because I've heard a lot of criticism about him, and of course, famously, takes that as Coach Stell takes that as a marker of Levy doing his thing as normally. For me, Timo, the reason why Timo is so famous for being Timo is because he's absolutely world class in terms of getting in positions.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
100%.
You couldn't be having so many absolute sitters to miss without being a world class player to get into those situations.
True.
And so we really all know that it is a head thing, it is a confidence thing, and so on. But for me, it's not even important in terms of scoring, although I would love to see it. For me, it's as long as Timo can do that and like get to the byline as well and cut it back and these kinds of things, then he is absolutely like the value that any top contesting team will always put a big premium on value, real value, not value just it's a cheap deal, but we're basically getting in every department except maybe scoring something that would be a 60-70 million euro
Agreed.
player a couple of years ago. And we're getting that as a squad player, second, third choice on the bench for that matter, and he'll be happy with it, and he'll do his job. That
Completely
is
agree.
value that you can't walk out and get anywhere. In my view.
Yori, that is what I describe as dangerous common sense from you, that there's a corner of the Spurs fan base that will not appreciate you talking with such common sense. Yori, thank you so much for calling. I'm going to have to move you on just because we've only got about 5 to 8 minutes left or something.
Yeah, no problem, guys. But honestly, I was happy with tonight, and
me too.
I think we'll win the next one, all right?
Top man. Let's speak to you after Forest at the next one. Thank you very much for calling in, mate. Like I said, we're into the last 5-10 minutes, but we've always got time for Mr. Box Office himself. Alex, how are you feeling after that game, mate? Thanks for calling in. I think you're muted, mate. If you could
mute, Alex.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, mate. Thanks for calling in. How are you feeling after that draw?
Firstly, I have to do this properly. Barnaby, respect to you, Bob, for debating people on Tottenham away. Just respect to you, bro, because this fan base is an absolute mess. And to be honest with you, Sonny and you were absolutely brilliant. The fact that you, even though you don't agree with them, you absolutely, I mean, it's great that you went on there and you respect you, went on their channel and debated them. I respect you, bro. That's absolute respect because no one else does it. They all talk in their own, you know, areas and talking, and that's it. You know what I mean? So respect you, mate.
No, I appreciate that. Look, it was, guys, go and check that out. We did a debate yesterday. Myself and Sonny Snelling from Sonny Talk Spurs went on to Tottenham Away, and we've all put a version of the debate up on our channel. So go and check it out. It was a good talk. We chatted for over an hour. It's not always important that you have the same feelings as other fans, but I do think it's important that you're able to talk to them about it. And it wasn't angry or anything. It was all very calm, and we agreed to disagree, I think it's fair to say. But Alex, tell me, more importantly, how do you feel after tonight's draw, mate?
Listen, it was all right. I mean, I don't know what the last caller was talking about, Timo Werner. I mean, he did one thing right, and then we're going to sign him, but I'm sorry, he's not good enough. I just don't like that front three. I don't know. I'm just unconvinced at the moment, and that's it for me. I mean, I'm not going to just be quick about it at the end of the day. I don't want to, because everyone needs to go home and that's it. But for me, at the moment, I just think, Johnson, he looks confident, great, okay, that's okay. But again, his confidence and this purple patch he's having at the moment didn't really hurt West Ham. We are very vulnerable at corners. I'm not that worried about the defence. I'm not really worried about the defence. It's just the attack, and that's it for me. I will say this though. Bentancur is growing on me.
Okay.
Bentancur is definitely growing on me.
That's good.
I don't know about the others. I think the first part of the first half we really got into them. The tactics that we had, the philosophy we had, really, we had more in that midfield, and we really got on top of West Ham. And when they got on top of, and then when they got used to us, that's when we struggled a little bit. And I think West Ham, I mean, I think we had all the possession in the world, but it's just the attack that really is hurting us at the moment. I think that's where my concern is for next season at the moment, and that's it for me.
What is it in the attack box office? Because I can't quite figure it out, right? You've got Sonny there leading the line. You've got Timo, who's got a lot of pace, and then you've got Johnson on the other side with a lot of pace. Like, you would think that those three should have enough to get you over the line against West Ham. Where are we going wrong?
I just don't think they're good enough, mate.
What, all three?
I just don't. No, Sonny's good enough. The only thing I've got question mark on is his captaincy, and that's it. And I've got question marks on Maddison as well, to be honest with you, that as well. Even though he wasn't too bad today, and the substitutions killed off the game for me today. Again, that's not really Angie's fault. I think he tried to change it, but the players just are not doing it. I was very disappointed in Kulu today. Really,
what I would say is I would have much preferred Maddison to be in that position with the ball with the last kick of the game to play that 4-on-3 that we had.
Definitely.
But I do wonder, Alex, whether Madders is still obviously coming back from that injury, and whether Ange brought him off in the knowledge that we're playing again on Sunday, 3 games in a week, etc. But the only thing I would say, as we know, we talked about it, I personally think potentially Werner is a decent buy at 15 million as a squad player. But one thing I would say, and Amir was saying this during the game today, there are at least 2 occasions, maybe even 3 occasions, where had he made the run to get across his defender, a goal was there for him to be scored. And unfortunately, he was just sat on his heels a bit. So I would agree with you on that, and the people in the comments who are saying that he had a bad game. I don't think he had a bad game overall, but I think there were a couple of occasions where, had he been a bit more on the front foot, we probably would have won that game.
I think the problem is Barnaby, he's 27 years old. He needs to do it now.
Oh yeah.
This is the thing now. This is the problem. His motivation to come to Tottenham is to get into the Germany squad. Now, if he's not doing it now, how is he going to do it afterwards? You know what I mean? And this is where my concern is at the moment. If this is again, you say backup again, and this is the thing. What happens when the backup turns into the first team next season in the Champions League? Because it looks like we're going to get Champions League football, which I don't want Champions League football. I don't care. This is why I'm done this season, right? Even Angie's saying this, even though I don't even like him, right? Because there's a lot of things he says that I'm saying I don't even like him, right? He says, judge him on the second season. So when I hear Tottenham fans saying, well, you expected 8th this season, right? Well, I'm saying, well, sorry, but this is a build season, so I don't really care. I couldn't care less. And then just even saying it himself, it's like, so what? So what? He's even saying it himself. He wants first place. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is the thing. It's like today, like it's a good point. I'm not saying it. Like I said, like I take a point all day long. You know what I mean? Because I thought we we're gonna lose.
I did.
But it's quite startling when I see what I'm seeing at the moment. I just think if we don't improve our attack, like if we don't improve that attack, I just don't see us doing anything, and that's it. I'm just unconvinced at the moment. But but you know me right now at the moment. I need to see different. You know what I mean? I'm just that fan is that very stubborn because I've been through it how long with this team. So at the moment, but judging today, we did okay to get a point at the game, but it's just the attack for me. For me, it's not doing it at the moment. But I don't want to take too much of your time, mate, because I know you need to go.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Look, I really appreciate you calling. Definitely give us a call after Forest as well. It'd be good to talk to you then, give you a bit more time. But yeah, I agree with you. A decent result in the end. Thanks a lot, mate. Have a good night.
Take care. Mr. Box Office is out of here.
Top man. Mr. Box Office is out of here. Some salient points from Mr. Box Office tonight, I think. Guys, we've got time for maybe arguably one more call, a couple of minutes. And of course, it's going to be the legend that is Mr. KPV. Have you got us off mute, KPV? And how did you feel about that game?
Felt a bit okay, the game. Like, got off to a possible start. Brennan Johnson scoring. Like, when he's come on off the bench, he's got more assists than Odegaard has. So, yeah, brilliant. More assists than Martin No-Show Odegaard. That's his name. No-Show Odegaard. Didn't show up in September in the North London derby. So, yeah, can do one, mate. But, yeah, still disappointed we didn't get the win. But Adogi, if he scored out, we would have won. Because, like, I thought if he just smashed it in, we would have won. Because we was robbed at home in December. If you watched that game, we was robbed. And I'm sorry to the people in the chat, but Ward Prowse was clearly offside. If you look at it, I know they gave the goal, but though that team, I cannot stand them. Like, no one likes West Ham. And I want to wish a certain legend a happy birthday for yesterday. Teddy Sheringham played for both teams. So happy birthday, and you're 58. Apparently he's 57. I googled it, and Google says 58, but he's 57. So happy birthday, mate, for yesterday. Hope you watched. And yeah, played for both teams. But we actually drew 1-1 there last season. And people remember the game, should have had a penalty, but turns out it wasn't given. Like, Kane had the ball, it was going to take a pen, but it wasn't given. And yeah, 2 seasons in a row, we've drawn there. Like, we've won there 3 times. Like, Poch has won there 2 seasons in a row, and then Mourinho won there a season later. So 3 wins, only 2 losses and 2 draws. So what does that say? The stats don't lie.
KPV, top man. Just because we haven't got much time, I want to ask you a question that we've been sent in by Dylan in a super chat. Thank you so much, Dylan. Dylan says, just an idea. If we sign a top right back, could we move Porro to defensive midfield? KPV, is that something you think could be doable?
I think so. Like, I think it could be done. The defensive midfield, I actually wouldn't mind that because, I actually wouldn't mind that playing defensive midfield. If someone was to get injured, playing there, then why not? I'm happy with that. Like, looking for another right back. If Thor was to get injured, then I wouldn't mind that because I don't know if there's any right backs out there who we want. Anyone in the chat, have a think who you'd want. Like, I don't know. Hakimi, oh my God. Champions League winner Real Madrid and was born there but plays for Morocco, got semi-final of the World Cup. The first South African country to do so. So brilliant. Yeah, I'd like Hakimi, but can we afford his wages?
We can't afford him. No, we can't.
No,
KPV, just before we go, thank you again for calling in. But give us a little thought towards Nottingham Forest at the weekend. Do you think that's a game we can win easily and calmly, or will it be another stress test?
I think that's a game we can win, because also you've got to mention Nuno beat us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before COVID, and we lost 3-2. We went, I believe, 2-0. Bergwijn and Yori, then Doherty scores the third. We signed him in the summer that year during COVID. So Doherty scores and we lose 3-2. But yeah, that was under Mourinho. But Nuno's beaten us away 2 times. So he's beaten his club when we should never have got him after Mourinho was sacked before final. Daniel Levy, not good, mate. Get out the club. I don't like him now. But Forest, Nuno, trying to beat us away for the 3rd time with 2 different teams. I know Wolves twice and Forest. Well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Not going to happen, mate. Because, yeah, you've got Origi, who still cheated in the Champions League final Liverpool, and he's injured. So thank God he ain't going to play. They've got Gibbs, right, who I actually want. So,
Good player, yeah.
Let's be honest. I want a clean sheet badly. So, but this thing can't continue with. Why is Cole not telling the players, get out my way, man? Like,
yeah, I agree.
This can't continue.
I agree with you, KPV. He should be slinging them left, right, and centre out of his way, shouldn't he?
Yeah, totally agree. KPV, I'm so sorry. Just because we've got to catch a train, so unfortunately we've got to end this. But give us a call after Forest. We'll talk to you for a little bit longer. I'm sorry about that, mate. Come on, you Spurs. Top man, KPV. Amir, thank you for watching all of this with me today. Got Forest on Sunday. We're doing it together.
Yep.
Top man. We'll be back then, guys. Make sure you drop it a like and a subscribe. And we will be back here once again for another watch along on We Are Tottenham TV this Sunday against Forest. Come on, you Spurs. Come on.